In the case of the 4chan terrorists, they posted a video online of themselves gearing up and planning their attack. That was on a Thursday. They then went to the protest line and did what they called recon. They were familiarizing themselves with the area and with the people who were there. The plan had been to return to the protest line on the following Monday, commit some act of mass shooting, and force the demonstrators to disperse. They were going to break up the protest as they saw it. Well, the only thing that got broken up were the terrorists. Because they didn't know that their would-be victims had seen the video that they made of themselves on Thursday. And those black protesters made a note of who these clowns were, what clothing they wore, and what they looked like. That's why when those creeps came back on the following Monday, they had no idea they were walking into a trap. The black protesters surrounded them, demanded that they take off their masks, and when they didn't, the protesters moved them away from the protest line. They didn't get on them right then that moment. Instead, it's like, let's herd these guys over here so we can deal with them personal-like. And then they proceeded to neutralize the white supremacist threat. Those protesters rolled out the welcome wagon and rolled it right over the terrorists. These 4chan white supremacist pieces of trash, these guys clearly had been playing lots of Call of Duty and imagined themselves to be operators, as in Special Forces operators. But understand something. Those 4chan terrorists in Minneapolis 7 years ago, they were there at the behest of the Minneapolis police.
We believe the police department is facilitating the injustice, bullying to the protesters, and we also believe that they are involved in this shooting. We know from blackboards and from chat rooms and also videos that we have posted on our website that police that are from different counties, police from different districts have come down to entice the protesters, have come down to bully the protesters.
I understand you are there in Minneapolis and you know much more about this, but those are serious allegations you are just laying down on national television.
And we are standing behind it. We do not back down from these allegations. Bob Crow.
Where is your evidence that they were involved in the shooting?
So we know that when the incident happened, police were lurking over the top of the precinct. Immediately once the victims were shot, protesters ran to the door of the precinct and they knocked on the door for help, for ambulance. The police came out and one officer said, "This is what you've been wanting," and shut the door on us.
Now, of course, you had the resident racist over at CNN, Brooke Baldwin, who's no longer there and I would imagine is no longer employable. But she was trying to do her cheap skepticism routine and asking, what concrete evidence do you have? Well, as it turned out, the protesters had also cornered another suspect who ran off.
So what's going on right now?
Okay, this guy right here walking away was a white supremacist. He walked in a crowd of 6 or 7 black men. And he started calling the N-word. I knew that, I kind of figured that he was a white working a provocateur. So I told the brothers, don't do nothing to him, just, let him go. So I told one guy to follow him. And when they followed him, this is what they saw. This is them following him. And then the second video will show him go walk right up into a police car that was waiting on him.
So this happened on Wednesday, where somebody who was coming in and saying racial slurs against people was escorted by the community back out, and he was escorted. He went back to a vehicle with a police officer in it and got into the back seat.
The protesters followed this one, and he walked a couple of blocks and jumped right into the back of an unmarked police car. And who was at the wheel but a Minnesota state trooper in uniform? The 4chan terrorists in Minneapolis bragged about having cops as their friends. After the attack, the leader of the terrorist cell, Scarcella's first call was to one of his police buddies. Now, if you had just taken part in a mass shooting, a pre-planned terrorist attack, and you knew that the attack failed and now the authorities would be looking for you, why would your very first call be to a cop? Because that's who he was carrying out this attack on the behalf of. But there's also another parallel to the Minneapolis terrorist attack. Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't want you to think that what happened with him was somehow separate from this or some sort of anomaly. These prosecutors in Kenosha and that judge, they knew about those 4chan terrorists. They knew that some white supremacist punks had pulled the same stunt as Rittenhouse had. So you had Kyle Rittenhouse who pulled the exact same stunt as the 4chan terrorist in Minneapolis. And just like with those 4chan terrorists, Kyle Rittenhouse had his pals in the police who were standing back while they let him do the dirty work. And then they came in, oh, has he done the job yet? Okay, good. Well, in that case, then he can just go home then. The Black Panther Party's full name was the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. And the operative term in self-defense is self. No one is going to secure your safety for you. History has shown that when we stand up, the enemy backs down. That was one of the lessons of 2020. That which the enemy cannot defeat, they have no choice but to accept. However, the first people who need to accept something is us. We have to accept responsibility for our own security. Carry the implements of personal protection, and make it a point to pursue the information of group protection. Do it because it's right. Do it because it works. Good day, and be one.